Emil Guillermo. Emil, Amok to you. Welcome to my gong closet. I've been doing this since the pandemic. It's like the pandemic never ended for me. But this is the show we do. It's my takes and all things considerable. Emil Amok's Takeout. Hello. Man, what a day it's been. Kind of like a rock and roll kind of day. Well, we got the word that maybe the hostages could be free, or some hostages could be free. And now, as we speak, in Israel, Netanyahu is meeting with his ministers. He's calling for them to approve this proposed hostage deal. And it looks like it's going to be what has been talked about all along, the 3-for-1, three Israeli prisoners for one hostage. And they're looking to try to get as many as 50 hostages, mostly the women and the children. So we're going to see how this all works out. It's got to be approved. And you see how delicate it all has been from the very beginning, right? Don't call it a ceasefire. And why? It's because if you call it a ceasefire, then that means that someone's given in to someone who is making demands for a ceasefire. And no one wants to give an inch. So you call it something else. It's a truce. Oh, what is a truce? A truce is a ceasefire. No, it's a truce. It's a different thing we're agreeing to. And this is the kind of diplomacy, the micro diplomacy that we're talking about. We're looking for inches of movement. They call it, in football terms, right? They talk about game of inches. Well, here it is. You got an inch of space to move something through. Thread that the needle to get something like a hostage deal through. That's what we're talking about. And it looks like several dozen hostages, as many as 50 women and 6 children, could be released if this thing is approved. Let's hope it is, right? I mean, the negotiations are in Qatar. They're moving forward. Like I said, 1 civilian hostage for 3 Palestinian prisoners held by the Israelis, according to reports. And on top of that, it's accompanied by looks like a 4 to 5 day pause in the war. And once again, don't call it a ceasefire, call it a truce. Essentially the same thing, but not the same word. A pause is another P word. Don't call it peace. It's like peace is the goal. And even in reports, you have Netanyahu saying there will be no peace until Hamas is eliminated. So this is a pause in this Israeli-Hamas war. And as we move towards some kind of negotiated agreement that will give us this pause, you notice how public relations is everything. What you get to say after the deal. This is how the big boys negotiate. You save face, you create space. That's if you want to find a pathway to peace. Save face, allow people to have some movement, create that space that allows for the diplomacy to work. It's the pathway to peace, and don't use the P word, though, right? It's a pause. Peace isn't the goal. It's a pause. We might end up with peace eventually, but you don't even want to talk about eventualities because we don't know what the eventualities are. It's a pause for American Thanksgiving and global Thanksgiving because I don't think they had Indians and pilgrims in Israel or in Palestine. So this is a sop or a concession to the Americans, right? Because the Americans hold all the cards. The U.S. really does force things here, but it's a delicate global balance. Israel listens to the U.S. Israel cannot do whatever it wants anymore. They're losing face in the eyes of the American public. Biden is holding them up as much as he can. But now, as a concession. I get this as a concession on the part of Israel to move for a 4 to 5 day pause. And the Middle East, Qatar, Qatar, they want to get to something. I mean, that's why they have the hostages, right? They want to get their hostages back, or their prisoners back for hostages. So this is the game we're playing. And it's just the hypersensitive geopolitical world we currently live in. It's going to give us some momentary pauses. Maybe we'll get to peace ultimately. But if the Israeli ministers agree and Netanyahu is pushing for the agreement, it looks like we'll have something to be thankful for. But this is, like I said, this is the way things work in this new geopolitical climate, or the one that we're in, whether it's a new one or not. It's the one that we're in. You look at APEC last week, at the APEC meeting, and you see how much was made out of, at the end, when Joe Biden said the term dictator. He called President Xi a dictator, which he is. It's a matter of truth. But in this delicate dance, it was good to see that wasn't enough to sink the unspoken. Well, it was spoken. There's an agreement for the China and U.S. military operations to talk, and for both countries to talk. Open communications, that was the big thing. And, the fentanyl and the AI talks, that was just kind of window dressing. But the big thing is that, hey, U.S. and China are talking. And no matter what President Biden says about dictator, calling Xi a dictator, it still works, because China needs this good relations thing to try to help its own economy. Because what is APEC? APEC is just a business meeting, right? Countries doing business with other countries, and companies in other countries wanting to do business with China. That's why companies paid $40,000 to do business with China last week to meet with Xi. And so it's all about, it seems like nothing, but they're talking, and that's something. And that's similar to what's happening with the hostage situation, except you have physical objects. You have tangible things that are being traded. This is the game. You have hostages for Palestinian prisoners, and we'll have perhaps 50, as many as 50, I believe, in this deal. And then we'll have the 4 to 5 day truce, not a ceasefire, because it's not over. And then it allows Israel to posture and say, we still want to eliminate Hamas. And then we'll have Hamas still doing its thing. But in the meantime, there's this pause. And like I said, we saw it with what's at stake, for Asian Americans. We have an Asian American focus on this show. And one of the reasons why APEC was important last week is because we've got like 6 million Chinese Americans here, 27 million Asian Americans here. And if China is perceived as an enemy and not as a partner, a business partner, even though we have nukes and spies pointing, targeting each other, if we're not seen as a cooperative partner with no conflict, then the conflict is passed down to us, Asian Americans. And you thought life was difficult under the pandemic when people were blaming China for the pandemic. That's what was important about the whole, U.S.-China smooth relations, ease of tensions. And I hope you were paying attention to APEC, because that's what that was all about. I mean, it wasn't about the wheeling and dealing going on with businesses and corporations with countries and various countries to do business. Look, they want peace, because peace means profits. The real news was happening outside when people were protesting, urging the world leaders of their respective countries to move for a ceasefire. And then the other big meeting between U.S. and China, Biden and President Xi, which was taking place 30 miles away from where the APEC meetings were really concentrated at Moscone Center in San Francisco. So this is how we get, this is world diplomacy in action. You know, it's what shows up, the niceness, the kindness, and it masks all the other stuff that's going on, that's really going on. They say one thing and the real stuff is hidden, and eventually it gets worked out and they're all smiling. Diplomacy. And how it affects people here, well, of course, Israelis are happy to a degree. They are getting some family members released. Pro-Palestinians, they see a truce for now, because the Israelis were losing face as more and more Palestinians were shown on video being killed from the bombings. And it's not a secret that there is a generational divide in America right now. There are people who are pro-Israeli, older folks generally, and the balance is with younger people. And they have totally switched gears. And they are pro-Palestinian. And that's really causing the Biden administration a lot of problems right now. At least if they're looking forward to 2024. So, look, Joe Biden deserves to be president if he can navigate these straits of 2023, 2024. And believe me, you need someone experienced. You need someone who knows these waters to be president. God help us if someone less experienced was in charge. I think you have to say that, I mean, this is belied by the polls that don't agree that Biden is handling this correctly. But I think Biden is handling this correctly. We got to pause for Thanksgiving. The big work is ahead. The major work is ahead. But we got to Thanksgiving. And it's, we're far from over. But we have a respite. A respite, that's another word we can use. It's all about these words, right? Don't say ceasefire, because that's what the protesters are demanding. Well, we didn't give in. We're going for a truce. Essentially the same thing, just a different word. All right, geopolitical nonsense aside, Biden, I pointed out yesterday, did fail on one important bit of diplomacy, and that's the Turkey diplomacy, because everyone thinks of it as a joke, right? When there was the front page of the Wall Street Journal today, where is that Wall Street Journal? The front page of the Wall Street Journal talks about Here it is. Biden keeps Turkey's uneaten streak intact. And, you know, it's a funny. Yeah. Nah, it's not funny. You got tens of thousands of birds killed. That's not funny. Just for Thanksgiving, right? It's about profit. It's get the precise, not the precise, a general number for the amount that of birds' lives. You're dealing with 45 million birds. Oh my God. I said tens of thousands. 45 million birds. That's because 85% of Americans have turkey on Thanksgiving. And so here is Joe Biden on his birthday, and he's making fun of his age because it's all right to be self-deprecating. And what else is he going to do, right? He's saying, hey, I'm old, but I'm 146, I think was his line, which is similar to a line I used when I talked about being old. Oh, I'm 118. But the thing about the whole turkey pardon is that I think we got to end the turkey pardon. We got to call it what it is. It's a joke, but don't play it up as a joke. We should see it as a joke and say, not play along with the joke, but say, God, we got to pardon our own turkey. We can't just let the president pardon these 2 turkeys and say, that's it, we're done. We got 45 million birds that are killed because 85% of this country eats turkey on Thanksgiving. We need more people to say, no turkey this time. You know, that's a lot of cholesterol. That's a lot of fat. That's a lot of, turkey skin is good, but, I really like all the sides. Bean casserole, mashed potatoes, cranberries, gravy. They're all vegan. Tofu pot pie, vegan. No reason to eat a turkey. You can pardon your own bird. And if you're Asian American, remember, tofu, unbeatable, bean curd, a lot of variety. You go to like the store I go to, 99 Ranch, get those like bean curd strips that are like turkey skin. You baste them, put a little liquid smoke on you. You baste them, you bake them, roast them. It's like taking all the turkey skin, kneading it, and all this is bean curd. It's a tofu substitute Thanksgiving meal. It can be done. I think we should move that next time. I hope that Joe Biden has another opportunity to pardon a bird. It is the tradition, right? So next Thanksgiving, he'll pardon the bird. Hopefully he'll be president whether he wins or loses, right? Hopefully he wins, and then he'll be president in 2024, right? Because the election's held early in November. Maybe they'll still be counting when they have the Thanksgiving pardon. And then he can show that he really is a kind, compassionate Uncle Joe and say, I'm not doing the turkey pardon. We can have a turkey pardon, but because I don't want to break the streak of the joke. But let's be real. Pardon your own turkey. Pardon your own turkey this year. It's ridiculous that 45 million birds are slaughtered. It's $1 billion in sales. Just because 85% of Americans want to eat turkey. And it's not even the traditional Thanksgiving meal. According to Wayne Shung, animal activist, friend, acquaintance, he's in jail now. This is how dedicated Wayne Shung is. He's so dedicated to animal rights. He rescued some animals, and he was convicted very recently in Sonoma County. And now he's serving time in a Sonoma County jail waiting for appeal, his case to be appealed. Happy Thanksgiving, Wayne. We appreciate you. We're thankful for you. We are grateful for you and your actions. But Wayne Chung still writes in his blog, the Substack blog, The Simple Heart, and he says 45 million birds, over $1 billion in sales for Thanksgiving, because 85% of you would rather have turkey on Thanksgiving. Corporate cruelty and greed, he calls it. I think it's time to drop the joke and don't pardon 2 turkeys. Pardon all the turkeys. Pardon all the turkeys for Thanksgiving. Pardon your own. Take away the cruelty from Thanksgiving. Let the turkeys have something to be thankful for. All right, I want to talk about OpenAI because all this talk about OpenAI and I kind of like AI. When it works, right? It doesn't always work. It automatically tries to sense what your next word is, and sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong. I use Otter AI. It's AI, voice recognition. So I kind of get it. I kind of like AI, but I don't want to get into why, the bad parts of AI. And I guess we can't really, we can't get away from that. Open AI is going to be a problem. I mean, AI is going to be a problem at some point. But here is something I read from Axios. And that is the question of, can the power of AI be restrained? And the fact is, it can't. It can't be restrained. There's a new book by an AI pioneer, Mustafa Suleyman, who co-founded and is CEO of Inflection AI, co-founder of AI giant DeepMind. He's now a part of Google. And in his book, The Coming Wave, he says containment of AI is not possible. See, because the fear with AI is that when you roll out artificial intelligence and use it ethically, there's some people who say you can regulate it wisely. That's good, right? Because it's AI. It defies all human logic and experience to think ethics will trump profit, power, and prestige. That's what the belief is, that you can roll out this technology and we will act in the best interests of humanity. But as these AI pioneers are saying, no, AI will defy human logic and experience, and AI will beat us. AI will be in control. We won't be in control. And that's why, according to Axios, this story about Sam Altman getting booted suddenly and shockingly needs to have your attention, because Sam Altman is the creator of the AI that people may have first were introduced to this technology, ChatGPT. And it's become like an ethical line between those who are true believers and letting the technology just sort of like run its course and learn on its own. And then we move toward this thing called singularity, where AI and humans are one. And then there's the board of OpenAI, which controls everything, or they controlled Sam Altman's future, and they're more conservative. And they want to control AI and make sure it doesn't harm society. So they take a doom and gloom kind of posture versus Sam Altman, who just wants to run the company and let the technology go and see where it goes. Altman was fired over the weekend. Then on Monday, OpenAI wanted him back, but not before Microsoft, which is a competitor to OpenAI, came in and said, okay, we want you. We're going to be part of this. Science is science wherever it takes us. Meanwhile, the OpenAI board is saying, wait a minute. We're fearful of this. I mean, the co-founder of Twitch, who is on the OpenAI board, recently warned that there's a 5 to 50% chance that this new technology ends humanity. 5 is too much. 50 is like coin flip. This is what AI is about. I don't know. I want to be on the side of, the technologists who are dreaming. But I think if there's a chance that civilization could be lost, that humanity can be ended because of AI, I want to go slow. I mean, I like it the way it is now. Do we have to push it to the frontier where AI moves to that singularity point, where it's smarter than humans, where it can end humanity? I don't like that. And so this is where we are. And if you're not paying attention to AI, you say, look, I'll be dead by the time they figure it out. Maybe, maybe not. I just think pay attention to this, because now today, the big headline in the Wall Street Journal is nearly all OpenAI staff threatened to quit, because I guess they want to go with the founder, or they want science to be unchecked, unbridled. I don't know. I'm not a technologist. I'm only a user. But I fear that if there's a 5 to 50% chance of ending humanity with AI, as the board chair of OpenAI feels, and that's the board that fired Sam Altman. I'm not sympathetic to Sam Altman. I want to see, I'm sympathetic to humanity. And, all of this, Sam Altman's going to land on his feet, because people are going to want that technology. They'll pay the price. That's the next big thing. Billions of dollars, corporate greed. I don't know. Makes me like the 1970s a lot more. Oh, let's go to 1990. Let's go to 1995. We had computers in 95 that actually worked. Slower, but look at the advances since 95, 2000. The last 25, 30 years. Can you go back to the old technology of those days? I mean, I noticed I'm watching a lot more TV from my iPhone than I used to when they used to put out those little Sony Watchman TVs, which I saw, but the screen was real small. It was over the air. It wasn't digital. I mean, this has really changed everything. And now I use AI on my phone when I take notes. I'm conflicted. But in the end, I think you got to side with humanity, right? Remember humanity? Getting old. All right. All right, get into the show here. Let's see what happens with the hostage deal, and let's hope that it ends up, all the talk of this morning about a deal happening. Let's hope it comes to fruition. But the latest news I'm seeing is that Netanyahu is calling on the ministers to approve the proposal, and if so, we might have reason to be thankful. Let's see. All right, I've got one more class. I'm taking a class online, and here's the thing about online classes. It draws draws from a pool of people all over the country, if not the world, and it's a small group, 10 people, and we're learning from each other and getting each other's views. It's very interesting, and I'll tell you, it doesn't matter if it's online or not. I feel like if you're doing the work, if you have a commitment to the work and to the people, it's all the same, if it's online or not. And so, last class within the hour, and I have to say I'm going to miss it. Probably do it again. And this really is the future of learning, a combination of these kind of things with in-person, some in-person. I mean, mind you, not being in person is not because of, COVID. It's just, how do you get a broad net of people to engage? It's a lesson from the pandemic. And I think it's valuable, not just in this educational sense, but in every other endeavor. But I know a lot of people want to get together and as I say that, it's sort of mixed. People do want to get together with work, and some people just would rather stay home. So we're developing this, or we developed this technology during the pandemic. Let's not forget it. Let's use it. In fact, I think it could be helpful in trying to figure out how do we get more seats in a freshman class. If you know that you're limited by the number of spaces in a class because of dormitories, food, and all that, all the logistical things that you worry about when you set a freshman class. But I've said, like someplace like Harvard, they only have 2,000 spaces each year in person. But what if you were able to get something similar and open it up not to 2,000, but to 5,000 or 10,000? I mean, right now the demand to get into the school is there's 50, 60,000 people who apply for 2,000 spaces, making it more elite, more exclusive than it should be. What if through online they were able to expand and you can see 50,000 people taking classes online and then falling or rising based on their merit? You gave them a shot. Here's Everest. Can you make it? Are you qualified? You say you are. Prove it. Okay, you didn't. See you later. You can do that online. Make it available to more people. You can find more hidden gems as opposed to just saying no. And I don't think you wouldn't be destroying people's lives, but if you're saying the only way you can go to that kind of exclusive Ivy League school is to go in person, I know traditionalists may not like that idea. Now, look, I just had a conservative view on OpenAI, and here on admissions, I'm saying, hey, do stuff online. I mean, they had to do it during COVID, and people didn't like that. But I just took a class, like I said, I think it was every bit as rigorous as if I were there in person. Except I didn't have to go 3,000 miles to where the teacher is. And everyone is from all around the country, so we got a diverse point of view. Something to think about. Anyway, all right, so we're here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Live, back in tomorrow. Consider going turkey-free. 45 million turkeys die. Check out the PETA podcast. I'll give you some ideas. That drops tonight, wherever you get your podcasts. This is the secret podcast of Emil Guillermo, Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. You can pick this up on YouTube, though. YouTube at Emil Amok 1. Also on Twitter at Emil Amok. And on my website, which is, I've got to fix it. There's something, I can't update it. We're working on it, but it's at amok.com. All right, we end with a little meditation. We like to because it calms us down. It works. It's a little metta, M-E-T-T-A. It goes something like this. As I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Until next time. Mahal Kita.